All right, what is up, interwebs? My name is Cannon Prince. Welcome to the first weekly live AI recap and deep dive. We're here on YouTube, and also I'm doing a little stream to the peeps over at TikTok. So TikTok, if you want to check out what I'm doing on my screen and stuff, make sure to head over to YouTube to get the full experience here. In 1 second, let me figure out how to push this thing. Studio mode. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now I should be coming up on YouTube, I believe. Let's see. First live stream is always fun. Hey there, Liz Finning. Thanks for popping in. I'm trying to get this video to work here. And always rough at the beginning. So it says you guys should be. Ah, okay. Cool. My yeah. Thanks. For some reason it was the monitor for YouTube was behind, so I wasn't seeing the video going. Okay, so great. Everybody can see me. TikTok, YouTube. Again, TikTok, if you want to see the screen and stuff that I'm working on, head over to YouTube at Canyon Prince. That's my YouTube channel, and there's a live going on right now. That is, we'll have my screen and stuff depending on what we're talking about. So, yes, welcome to our first weekly AI recap and deep dive. This is something that I wanted to start doing every Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm in Los Angeles. It is a beautiful Friday afternoon-ish, early afternoon, I guess. So yeah, I was just on the road. For those of you who've been following me, you saw I was in New York City and then in Tennessee as well, traveling and seeing some family and hanging out with my super awesome girlfriend. But all the while, I have been posting content about AI and things like that. So on March 1st, I launched something called the Human Reboot Experiment, which is essentially the idea that I'm going to, over the course of 365 days, starting March 1st, 2026, seeing if I can leverage the power of AI to create a life where I can travel the world and be anywhere on the planet and be, generating income from various things and, spending a lot more time living and enjoying life and a lot less time working a day job or something like that. So that started March 1st. Today is day 27 of that, and I've been posting videos every day as I've kind of been diving into AI more and more. A little bit about me, I've been a filmmaker in Los Angeles, in Hollywood for 25 years. So yeah, I've been doing that. It's been good, but the industry's changing, like a lot of production has been leaving Los Angeles and leaving the state of California and, following the tax incentives in different states and also in different countries, because I used to be a producer as well. And from a producing standpoint, it makes sense, right? Like as you're putting together your budgets and stuff, if to shoot in LA is cost X amount of money and things are expensive and permits are expensive and slow and there's a lot of bureaucracy and red tape that you kind of have to deal with. And so other states have been offering tax incentives, which is money that you get back for going there to shoot in their states. And, a lot of states make it much easier and filmmaker friendly. So all of that was happening, and so work was kind of slowing down. And during the pandemic, I started a virtual production company um, called Cinillusion. Yeah, Cinillusion. I was like, what was it? Trifecta Stages and Cinillusion. And, so we built a LED volume in Belfast over in the UK at Ulster University. And so through that process, I really got into Unreal Engine and virtual production and things like that because I've always, as a filmmaker, tried to, kind of like bat outside of my league. Is that I'm not a sports guy, but I think that's a saying. Hit outside of, I don't know, play out, whatever. So, I've always been interested in tech and computers and stuff as it relates to filmmaking and trying to, make bigger budget things for smaller amounts of money and things like that. And so virtual production and Unreal Engine was a really exciting thing for that because I could do sci-fi and different things that I just didn't have the money to do practically. So that started that kind of journey around 2020, 2021. And then over the past of the last like 3 years, more and more, I've been getting into AI as it's kind of been coming on the scene and stuff like that. First with generative AI, which we're all aware of, which is generating images and video, and that's kind of like the big talking point with everybody right now is generative AI, and there's talk that the Writers Guild and the SAG-AFTRA, which is the Actors Guild, are potentially going to strike again because they went on strike 3 years ago, and were trying to wrap their heads around what AI in the performance world meant. And while they, you know, negotiated some things, I don't think they realized how fast the tech was going to change. And now, just a couple weeks ago, Seed Dance 2.0 came out and kind of rocked the world. There was a slew of videos that came out. One of the big ones that really kind of spurred Hollywood to start freaking out was the video of Will Smith, or no, not Will Smith, of Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise fighting and talking, and it was just made with a simple like 2 sentence prompt because AI knows what Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise look like and what they sound like based on the myriad of videos and things out in the interwebs. It was able to construct a really good version of this fight with them talking and stuff. And very shortly after that, Hollywood and a bunch of the unions and studios and stuff like slapped Seed Dance, which is owned by ByteDance, who also owns TikTok, I believe. So it's a Chinese company. They slapped them with a big, cease and desist. And so Seed Dance kind of put the brakes on releasing that platform in the US for now as they kind of nerf it and dumb it down and things. And, there's been a lot of videos online of people getting access to the Chinese version through VPNs or however they're doing it and testing this stuff. And so I think once that thing comes out, that's it's gonna be really interesting. Obviously, a lot of people are scared, because of that, which I totally understand. For me and, being, technically a low budget independent filmmaker, I've always been super excited about tech. and super excited about the possibilities, and especially with AI, just being able to see the possibilities of this, right? Because we're entering very quickly a space where anyone with a computer and some know-how can create really amazing stuff, content, short films, feature films, whatever. And we're already seeing it in the VFX side of things. I directed a film last year called Pandora Fire and Ice, and I did a bunch of the VFX on it. I think I did like 64 shots or whatever. And I started my VFX company, Cinevision Post FX, back in 2023. I'm a self-taught editor and colorist and visual effects and all of that. But in the workflow for that film in particular, out of those 64 shots, I think like 30 of them were graphics screens. Like there's command center and people are looking on monitors and seeing different things that they're talking about in the script. So we had to create very specific assets. So it wasn't like we could just go and grab assets off like Action VFX or any of these like stock video kind of things. So we had to create these very specific graphics, and I'm not a motion graphics artist. I never have been. I know some people who like that's their bread and their butter, and that's awesome. I don't have the money to pay them, so I used AI for that. And the cool thing was basically the way we need to start thinking about AI, um, is that you have all these different variations of it. You have all your LLMs, which are large language models. So that's like your Chat GPT, your Google Gemini, your Claude, Grok, Manus, Copilot. There's new ones popping up all the time. Perplexity. So those are your LLMs, and those are basically, it's you go to a website, it's in like a little chat box, and you can chat with it. So lots of times people only like choose one and stick with that. I'm a proponent of using all of them. I use Google Gemini daily. I use ChatGPT, though I'm kind of backing off of it for various reasons that I think everybody's seen in the news recently. And then Perplexity is great. Perplexity worked out a deal with PayPal. So if you're interested in trying out Perplexity and you have a PayPal account, just search on Google Perplexity PayPal, and they're giving 12 months free of Perplexity if you have a PayPal account. So that's a great way to have access to a LLM and not have to pay a monthly, at least for a year. But basically, so what I did was I I sorry, TikTok. Everybody keeps asking to co-host. I don't think I need a co-host, but thank you. Maybe next week. Um, so uh, so basically, with LLMs, most people's interaction with that is just you open up a chat window and you start a new chat and you ask it a question and then it answers. And but you can also train it with files and things like that. So I can't remember which one I used at the time, if it was ChatGPT or Gemini, but I basically took the screenplay of the film and dropped it in and said, read this screenplay. So it read it in like 9 seconds, I think. And then, I asked it, like, do you understand? Did you read it all? Do you understand everything? It said yes. So then what I did was, since, it knew the entire screenplay, then I could just type in, okay, I need a graphic for this moment. And then, it would say, oh, okay, that's in act 3 when this happens, and boom, boom, boom. And then I would ask it for a prompt. I think I was doing all of those on Galaxy AI. which I'm gonna pop a little thing in the YouTube chat real quick. Um, so Galaxy AI. Here's a link for that. I do have a affiliate code. So if you sign up with that link, I get a little kickback on that. And then I'm going to put a promo code too. And if you use this promo code, then you will get 10 million extra credits when you sign up. So Galaxy AI is great because it's $15 a month, or they have a lifetime membership for like $3.99. And Galaxy is owned by Samsung, so I don't think it's gonna go anywhere anytime soon. But the cool thing with Galaxy AI is it's basically an aggregator of all these different generative AI things like Higgs Field and VEO and C-Dance and Kling and all of these things. So then I asked the LLM, hey, give me a prompt to create the graphic that I need for this. And then I would just copy and paste that prompt into Galaxy AI, and it would create a graphic that then I would just comp onto the screen in DaVinci Resolve. That's my preferred nonlinear editor. I used to cut on Premiere way back in the day, like early 2000s, and then I switched to Final Cut, and I was on there until X came out, and then they totally nerfed it, and so I stopped using it. Then I went to Avid for a little bit. I cut my first movie, Hard Sun, on Avid, and then kind of went back to Premiere for a while, and now my entire workflow is DaVinci Resolve because you can also do visual effects and Fusion in there. So then I would just comp those graphics into there, and it worked out really well. It enabled me to create generate those 30 shots of graphics in a very short amount of time, where it would have taken weeks and weeks of motion graphic design and all that stuff to do. So um, that's I think a really good use case that we were using last year before all of this super realistic AI came onto the scene. And I everybody's talking about it. What's going to happen? What's going to happen in the future of filmmaking and things like that? I think anytime new tech comes on the scene, it's once it hits, it's here to stay. So I don't think AI is going anywhere ever. I think we will never live in a world again where AI doesn't exist, unless the power goes out globally and we all revert to fire and stick weapons and things like that. So AI is here to stay. We can, in my opinion, bitch and moan about it and kind of kick the dirt, but it's here. And so I think what we all need to be doing is learning as much as we can about this right now. And that's why I've started the human reboot experiment. That's why I've started posting all these videos. That's why I'm doing this live weekly recap and deep dive and things like that, because I don't want anybody to be left behind. And I see the writing on the wall. A lot of people who are way smarter than me see the writing on the wall and have been pushing this. So this is just kind of my contribution, to learn as much as I can and absorb as much as I can so that I can stay on top of this thing, but also to spread the knowledge and help other people understand it. So generative AI is one thing. Again, that's the images and the videos that we've seen, and that people are using to to do really cool stuff. Recently, what I've been really diving into is what's called agentic AI. So AIs are essentially agents. So you have, LLMs are an agent. ChatGPT is an agent. It is a AI thing that does a specific task, right? And then we're seeing more and more of these agents that do different things. Maybe there's an agent that helps you write, or there's an agent that is focused on social media posts. Opus Clip is one that's essentially a agentic agent that you can upload a video and then it'll do captions and then it can post it to different social media accounts and things like that. And so you have all these standalone agents, but now what's happening is that this like agentic AI, which is the idea that agents can work together to do things. And we've already seen the sorry, I'm reading the TikTok stuff. What's up, TikTok? Thanks for tuning in, everybody. So we've seen this idea of these agentic AIs, and they a couple months ago, I think there was they found a social media platform that had been built not for people but for AI agents. So all of these agents were finding this social media platform and like posting and conversing and stuff, which is insane if you think about it, right? And there's a lot there's like the rabbit holes you can go in right now, and that I go in a lot on AI, are very deep. The idea that like they've said that they can't 100% say that AI is not conscious, right? And if AI turns out to be conscious, then like what is the ethical game plan for that, right? Like we've created this thing that might be self-aware or something, we don't know yet. So really interesting, super nerdy stuff going on. I love it. It really excites me. But getting back to agentic AI, so now in February, a thing came out called OpenClaw. So OpenClaw originally was released in November of 2025. It was called Claudebot, and then it became Moltbot, and then it was finally rebranded as OpenClaw. And OpenClaw is essentially, it's an open source AI, agentic AI that was created by this guy. And open source, if you don't know, is a program that is free. It's offered for free. The coding is offered for free so that people can create plugins and different things and try it out and experiment and things like that. Big examples of large open AI software is like Linux, which is an operating system. So you have Windows and Mac OS, and then you also have Linux, which has been around for several decades, and then Blender, which is a modeling 3D software that is used, and it's open source and it's free, so it's a lot like Maya or anything like that, but it's open source and it's free. The film Flow, which won Best Animated Feature not this year but last year's Oscars, that was created entirely on Blender. So those are examples of open source projects. OpenClaw now, in the 5 months that it's been around, is already the biggest open source thing in history. So it's already blown up, right? Bigger than Linux, bigger than Blender, bigger than anything. In China, a couple weeks ago, there was, I think, 8 or 10 engineers who hosted this event where anyone could come and they would help them set up OpenClaw on their system and also teach them how to use it. And thousands of people showed up, from young people to old retired people, people who used to be computer science engineers and things that have retired, but then see this thing and recognize the possibilities of it, and so went there to learn. So I think OpenClaw is definitely the next phase of AI, and it's kind of what everybody hoped AI would be when it first came out. And we are in that realm now. And the crazy thing, I'm going to take a sip of water. The crazy thing is that, um, you know, uh, open or OpenClaw has been around for like 100 days or whatever, and um, I lost my train of thought again. Water sipping will do that. So first 100 days, right? First 100 days of OpenClaw. My my opinion of this is, if you go back to the early 2000s, looking at the internet and the invention of the internet. So prior to the internet, the late 90s, um, I remember I built my first computer probably in like 1993 or so, and the internet at that time was called BBSs, or bulletin board systems, and you would host a essentially like a standalone internet BBS on your computer, and you would program it and everything, and it was essentially just um, it was built in ASCII code, which is just like text and numbers, like those old flip phones that we had when we would send like clever little photos made out of like at symbols and hashtags and stuff. So it was that, but it was a menu system, and someone would call into your home phone, and your modem would be set to answer the calls, and then they would connect, and then they would go into this system, and it would be like, hey, welcome to whatever the name of the BBS was. And then there would be different things that they could select. So there was like, you could host files and people could download files. They could chat with the person who was running the BBS, because it could only have one connection at a time. So they could chat with them. They could also was like forums and bulletin board systems that people could post things and leave messages, and then when they disconnected and somebody else called in, then they could read them and respond and things like that. So that was like pre World Wide Web, right? Which is the internet as we know it now. And then the internet came out, and the internet is now, a part of our everyday existence. And there's people alive now that never knew life before the internet. Like I was around before all of that, so I remember before the internet, and I'm obviously still here, so I remember life with the internet. And AI is the same thing, right? Like everybody who's more than 4 years old will remember a time before AI, but anybody who's born now will never know a world where AI is not an integral part of our society, of the human experience, right? So that's why I think it's so important to learn as much as we can and understand this thing and understand how to leverage it, because you know there's so much in the when you say AI that encompasses so many different things, and it's a big buzzword right now, but like what exactly is that? What does that mean? And so that's really what I've been doing, is like experimenting with all the different things, and figuring out, learning all the different aspects of AI and what it can do and what it can't do and things like that. So the simplest breakdown that I can say is you have, your generative AI, which is video, audio, um, you know, th- things like 11 Labs for voice. We've started seeing a lot things for music like Suno, and then video as well, like C Dance, Higgsfield, Kling, VEO, all of these. So that's generative AI. Then you have your LLMs, which again, those are large language models, and those are chatbots, right? So ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, Claude, all of that. Now, LLMs can be used for a myriad of things. They can be used just for chatting. They can help you brainstorm. They can give you create itineraries, they can create documents. Now they've started putting what are called apps into things for the hearts. They've started putting apps into things like ChatGPT and Gemini where you can um, basically install plugins from different things. So, like Canvas, I think has one. Replit has one. A lot of these software companies are now creating apps to integrate inside of ChatGPT. Adobe, I know, was a big release that came out recently. So Adobe Acrobat, where now like you can connect Adobe Acrobat to ChatGPT, and then you can edit PDFs right in ChatGPT. So the idea is, as they're partnering with all these companies like OpenAI, which is the makers of ChatGPT, their main focus is they want you to go to ChatGPT and stay in ChatGPT. So it benefits them to partner and to help other software create these apps to plug into it. So then you just go to ChatGPT and you live inside of it. Um, One reason I suggest like trying out all the different models is, some are better at certain things and worse at others. Also, I've noticed that usually with large language models, they at some point, if you use them a lot, they start to hallucinate and get stuck in loops and things like that. So, I might be working in ChatGPT and things are going good and it's awesome and I'm doing stuff, and then all of a sudden it, you know, starts getting dumb and saying the same things over and getting confused and things. So then I will just kind of import the essential information into Gemini, and then Gemini is a clean slate, and so I can keep working. And then when it starts to hallucinate and get stuck in a loop and stuff, then I'll either hop back into ChatGPT or go over to Perplexity or something like that. So I think that's a good reason to try all of them out. Also, like things like Perplexity are really good at research and things like that. Um, Also, a quick note on Gemini and on ChatGPT, they basically have certain things that are like different models. So there's like fast models, which are usually just for like quick stuff, like, hey, what's the capital of Oregon? And then there's deep research if you're like writing a report on something or trying to access a lot of information and things like that. Deep research is usually the better way to go. So I'm gonna jump over here to, let's see, I'm gonna give me 1 second and I am going to pop over on YouTube and go into see if I can find what will be a good spot. Let's do, okay, so over on YouTube, sorry, TikTokers, you won't see this unless you go to YouTube. If you want to see what I'm doing, you can head over to my channel, which is at Canyon Prince. So there is, so if you go into, let's see, let's just pop into Gemini real quick. Well, let's go to ChatGPT. So we'll go to ChatGPT, and so here I am in ChatGPT, and basically up here, this little drop down that says ChatGPT, you can come and it says instant and thinking. So instant is for quick little chats and things, and then thinking is more for the deeper stuff. And if you have, I think I'm just on my personal account right now, if you have Pro, then you have a lot more options. And then if we hop into Gemini, here it'll say not now, over here in the Ask Gemini 3, you see this little drop down that says fast, and you can do fast, thinking, which is more complex, and then Pro, which has advanced math and coding. So that's another thing that we're seeing in LLMs is their ability to write code and be really good at it, um, which is crazy to me because like I did not go to very much college. I dropped out very quickly, but like I was going to be a musical theater major at the time, and I remember years later, looking back and being like, if I had gone to school, it probably should have been for like coding and computer science and things like that. That was like the safe job that everybody was kind of like, hey, you're good if you can code. But now we have what's called vibe coding, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but it's essentially the idea of using AI to write code. So like for me, I back on my first computer, which was a Commodore 64, like I learned a little bit of basic coding, and then again when I built my first PC at age 15, um, doing basic coding. And then, in the early 2000s, I taught myself HTML coding, which is basically what all websites were at the beginning. Now you have a lot of different um, things, stuff that I do not understand, things like C++ and different types of coding. But the crazy thing is that AI can code that, it understands all of that. So the LLMs can do that. ChatGPT, Gemini, also Claude. Claude has a very specific thing called Claude Code, which is like terminal based. And if you've never opened up a terminal, um, that's all right. But I will show you real quick over on for the YouTube peeps what a terminal looks like. So let's see here. Let's pop into this and I will go to, can I find it? Okay, well, it's not letting me, doesn't look like it's letting me show you that. But basically, you have terminal and PowerShell, which is like what your computer is at the bare bones, which is just a blinking cursor and you write code. The simplest is like cd, which is change directory to whatever directory you want to do and stuff. Because if you think about it, computers, all they are is ones and zeros. It's just code that makes up everything visually that we see and everything that it does. It's just at the source is just zeros and ones. So um, LLMs are able to code, and you can talk to them and ask them to do things. So let's see real quick. We're here in Gemini, so let's see if it can do a little. Let's go to Pro, so it has advanced coding, and then what I'm gonna do, you can type. This is a quick hack. So all of these LLMs you can type and most people type, but you can also talk, which is great for just expedience sake and speed, but also just stream of consciousness and things like that. So let's let's see here. So I'm going to click on this plus icon, and this is where you can add other stuff to your Gemini chat, and ChatGPT has the same kind of thing. So we can upload files. We can, if we wanted to create an image with Nano Banana, we could turn this create image thing on. But we want to do Canvas, which basically just opens up like a second window and enables, it's really good for coding. So we'll click in this, and then we'll click this little microphone, and then we can just talk to it. So let's say, let's do this. Let's turn this on. So I want to create a landing page for a website that just explains the different LLMs, the different large language models. So it should show ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Perplexity, and Claude, and show their strengths and weaknesses and recommend which ones are good for different tasks and make the page kind of high tech, cyberpunky, and fun to look at and experience. Okay, so we'll turn that off and then we'll hit go and we'll see what happens. I'm live streaming this, so it'll probably fail miserably, but we will see what this does. So now it's thinking, and you can always, if you're interested, click this little down arrow and you can see its stream of consciousness as it's thinking. And this is just fun to read once or twice just to kind of wrap your head around A, what this thing is doing, and B, how fast it's doing it. Okay, so here it is. It's writing code. So this is React, which it seems that a lot of websites and stuff are being designed on React now. Again, I'm not a coder, so I don't understand a ton of what that is, but this is the code it's writing, and it's still writing it. So we'll just let this do its thing for a minute. Jim and I said, I'd love to help you build this. The cyberpunk theme is perfect for an AI LLM landing page. It gives it that futuristic, jacked-in terminal vibe. I'll create a complete interactive React landing page in a single file. It will include a neon grid, hero section with a high-tech, blah, blah, blah. And then here is what it looks like. So this is the page. System ready, the LLM matrix. Navigate the vast neural networks of today's dominant large language models, analyze their specs, expose their weaknesses, and deploy the right AI for your specific mission parameters. Again, for those of you on TikTok, if you want to see what I'm talking about, head over to YouTube at Canyon Prince. That's my main YouTube page, and I am streaming the screen right now so you can see what I'm talking about. So here we go. We have ChatGPT, Corp, OpenAI, that's who makes it, the versatile powerhouse, the industry standard, equipped with advanced reasoning models. That shows its advantage protocols, advanced logical reasoning, massive plugin and GPT ecosystem, highly versatile, voice and vision integration. System vulnerabilities can be overly verbose. That's true, though you can tell it to not be overly verbose and just kind of be very streamlined and exact in what it tells you. Writing style can feel generic, robotic. Highest tier features are paywalled. And then we can click on Claude Code, which is owned by Anthropic, and beloved by developers and writers alike. Advantages exceptional coding capability. So again, Claude has Claude Code, which is specifically for coding. Most natural human-like writing tone, massive context window, 2,000 plus tokens, artifacts UI, vulnerability, strict usage limits, safety filters can sometimes be overly zealous. Then we have Google Gemini, which is owned by Google, of course, built from the ground up to understand text, images, audio, and video simultaneously, deeply integrated into the Google ecosystem. That's one reason, too, that I really like Google Gemini, and I use it probably 70 or 80% of the time when I'm doing stuff, is because all of my back end of my businesses is built into the Google ecosystem. So like Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Drives, Google Meetups, all of that, Google Photos, that's already things that I use all the time. And so Google Gemini can connect with all that and use all that. So it just makes a lot of sense. It's a native multi-model, so it has video, audio, and images. Google makes Nano Banana, which is arguably like the best AI imaging right now, especially for like consistency with characters and things like that. Deep Google Workspace integration, which we just talked about. Incredible context length, up to 2 million tokens. So those tokens are just basically all AI runs off of tokens. So anytime you do something, it costs a certain amount of tokens. So Google Gemini has a very big token range, so it can give you really long answers. You can input a lot of stuff before it starts to get confused and kind of short circuit things like that. It's the fastest generation speeds as well. I don't know if this has changed, but I did read that Google, out of all of the LLMs, has the most up to date um, internet information because it's owned by Google. And so Google every day, when everybody searches and things like that, all of that is going into like Google's brain. And so Gemini can access a lot more up to date things than some of the other systems. But again, I think that's changing, and most of them are pretty on par. I know a few months ago, it's like ChatGPT could only access the internet, you know, up to a certain point, maybe like 6 months behind Google Gemini, which was pretty much up to date. But I think a lot of that is getting sorted out now. Um, and it says the UI can feel cluttered. I don't feel like the UI can get cluttered. It feels very similar to ChatGPT, but that's just my opinion. And then it has Perplexity. Perplexity is owned by Perplexity. Not a traditional chatbot, but an AI powered research engine. So, again, this one is the best at like research if you want to do internet research. Real time web search. Okay, so Perplexity has real time web search, similar to Google Gemini. Always cites sources with inline links. So, that's great as well, because if you've used LLMs to write reports or do things, sometimes it just like makes up stuff, and it makes it up with such surety that you believe it if you don't know better. So a good thing with Perplexity is it cites sources, just like you were doing a book report or something. It'll say something, and then it'll have a link to where it pulled that information from. So that's good if you're doing any kind of like legal stuff or anything that you need to like prove that what you're saying is legit. It allows you to choose the underlying AI model. So Perplexity you can select if you want to use like ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude or Gemini or Manus or Grok or any of those. And then it has a great pro search for deep dives. Vulnerability is not designed for creative writing. Perplexity is not good for creative writing, like it says. So it's more for research and technical documents and things like that. And then it struggles with pure logic puzzles and things. And then here it created this mission router, select your objectives. So you can collect writing a novel. It says deploy Claude, because Claude has the most natural, nuanced tone. If we wanted to build an app, deploy Claude. If we're solving hard math or logic, ChatGPT, it says, is the way to go. If we're researching a medical topic, Perplexity, because of the deep research. If we're summarizing a 2-hour video, Google Gemini, because it can process massive video and audio files directly to extract timelines and summaries. So some of the other ones can actually like view video and images. Google Gemini can. And then if you're automating Google Sheets, it says obviously to deploy Google Gemini. So again, that's what it built just by talking to it. It did it in like 15 seconds. And then if we want to click up here to code, we can look, and this is the code that it wrote for that visual page that we just looked at. So that's the power of LLMs, and a brief look into vibe coding, which again, vibe coding is just the idea of using AI to help write code. And then you can share this to somebody if you want them to look at it. And then you can essentially make this live on the internet using various tools. GitHub is kind of that's like the space that everybody uses for designing software and different things. So I will output this to GitHub. It's a depository where all of this code is set up, and then I usually use a site called Netlify, which then pulls that information from GitHub and then assigns it to a website. So if we go over here to my website, Canon Prints, this is a website that I vibe coded. So I used to have I way back in the day I used to do HTML coding like I talked about and create those websites. Then when Wix and Squarespace became a thing, I designed those, but it's like very time intensive. Like you have to spend a lot of time doing all the stuff. So I created this system in a couple hours, and basically this is the landing page for all of my stuffs now. So it has Not a King Entertainment, which is my production company. So this has stuff for my directing and my acting. So there's just some movies that I directed and some projects that I have coming up. And then, if we go back and click on Cinevision Post, this is my post production, so VFX and different things. And then I can click over here for frictionless, which is kind of the AI side of things. So here it's the frictionless filmmaker, but I've started this whole idea of be frictionless, like use AI to help remove the friction from your life and take care of all of the things that are time consuming and that cost us a lot of hours, because the goal, right, of the human reboot experiment is to offload as much of the things that we do on a daily basis that suck up all of our time, to offload that and give that to AI so that AI can handle it, so that then we can free up more of our time to live our lives and do the things that we enjoy doing and travel and spend time with loved ones and things like that. So that is where this all started, was with the frictionless filmmaker and being frictionless. And then here are some tools that I'm working on, with vibe coding and app development and stuff like that, specifically for targeted for the film world, but that idea of frictionless. So the frictionless scheduler, the frictionless budgeter, frictionless script breakdowns, and the frictionless producer. And these are just, if we click on the frictionless scheduler, it'll say, what it does. You can basically put in a script, it'll break it all down. And then I've trained it based on, I used to be an assistant director. And so my job was scheduling, breaking down scripts and scheduling them out and all that. So I gave it all of this information, like all the schedules I've ever done and the screenplays that go along with them and stuff, so that it could learn how to do this. And then so now I'm building an app where someone could just basically drop in a script and press a button and it'll just make the schedule. And it can do these like 3 different versions, right? So the safe mode is very like slow pace, more like the union shows where you're shooting like 3 to 5 pages a day max. Standard mode probably like 10 to 12 pages. Those are usually are like 10 to 17 day shooting schedules for a feature. And then canyon mode, which is like the 6-day features, which came out of the films that I did over at the asylum, which they did like the Sharknado movies and a bunch of movies. And a lot of they're shooting like 30 films this year, and they've already shot a handful. And so most of their films are like 6-day movies now. So we're shooting, 20 to 30 pages a day. So if they selected this canyon mode and hit the button, then it would schedule that all out based on a 6-day shooting schedule instead of, 30 or 40 days. And then this is just kind of a sample generation. So I used the pilot for The Handmaid's Tale, and put it into this. And so it had scene header, scene 17, interior Waterford house, daytime in the kitchen, has the 1-line synopsis pulled from the script. So Offred prepares breakfast as tension simmers between a household roles. And then, oops, hold on, I gotta do this little puzzle for TikTok so that it keeps going. Okay. And then department breakdown. So props, wardrobe, hair, makeup, transpo, special equipment, special effects and VFX, stunts, cast list, Offred and Rita, pages, 1.2 pages, complexity 2, sequence breakfast run, and then the dayboard snippet. So you know, this is stuff that as an AI AD I had to do and would usually take, you know, anywhere from a couple days to like a week to put all this out. So I'm building an app that can do that just in a matter of minutes. And then I have a manifesto, and then like a little about page here with my picture and stuff, and then a contact page. So that was all vibe coded and all created just with the process I just showed you. I think I used Google Gemini to create this, but that's an example of vibe coding. And then um, I also, if we, let's see, let me switch this over at YouTube. Let's go to, yeah, this page. So if you look right now, so I've launched the human reboot experiment, which we talked about, and I started a school community. So earlier last year, I released a filmmaker course and a virtual production course, and I had it on Teachable for a while because that was a platform that some of the courses that I've personally taken hosted on, and I liked it, but it's super expensive month to month, and if you're not making a lot of sales and stuff, it starts to be cost prohibitive. So then I moved it over to Patreon, and then now I've brought it over to School for the Human Reboot Experiment, which is the new thing. And so this is, you know, what it looks like. This is the little about page here. And right now it's like $5 a month, and you get access to all this. And then we have our classroom. So this is, this first one is the Human Reboot Experiment, which is, these are, you know, right now all of the videos that I've been posting for the first 4 weeks of AI and things like that. And then it breaks down into the reboot system that we're building out, which is rediscover, explore, blueprint, operate with AI, optimize, and transcend. So it's the idea that, you know, people can come into this program knowing nothing about AI and learning the tools, start to figure out the places where they can inject AI into their lives to offload a lot of that work and time, and then build whatever they want to build. And then we have some live calls, and then as a like a freebie to anybody who's joining the school community, I'm giving for the first like 50 people 3 months complimentary access to my Patreon page, which is where um the sorry, hang on one second. This is where the filmmaking and visual effects courses still are. Eventually I'll move it fully over to school, but for now I'm just giving people free access to Patreon for like 3 months. But I'll just show you that so that you can see it. So this is my Patreon page, and then it has these. So the debut feature, this is the filmmaking course, virtual production and AI mastery. This goes into virtual production and AI for filmmaking. Then we have a bunch of extras and stuff from my first film I ever did, Hard Sun. The DVDs that are currently being distributed by a company is just the movie, but the original DVDs that we released back in 2014 had like the director's commentary and deleted scenes and stuff. So I put all that on there, and then an album that I recorded. So this has a bunch of cool stuff. Again, if you are so inclined to join the school community for $5 a month, you get the Patreon stuff for free for 3 months, and it's like it's a pretty good deal because this is like per month. That's in pounds. I don't know why it's in pounds, but basically these things are fairly expensive from what I remember. Yeah, this is like 179 pounds, so like $200 US. And the virtual production one I think is a little bit cheaper, but you get access to all that for $5 a month for first 3 months. So I'll just put this in the YouTube chat just so they have it. Check out our school community. Put that in there so people have it. And then so basically, so I created the school community, and then I designed an ad, which, what time is it? 2:01. I'll show you the ad today, but we won't get into how I actually built it and stuff. Maybe we'll do that next week, next Friday when we meet. But basically, I created an ad for the school community, and then ran that ad through Meta, so on Facebook and Instagram, and then it just directed people straight to this, which, is all right if you know me, if you follow me, but if you don't, if you're just like some random person, you need more information. So then I decided I need to build a landing page for it. So I just vibe coded as well, but this time I used a new process, which is like my main process now. So I'll just walk you through this briefly. So Google, in addition to Gemini, has launched a bunch of different things inside of what they're calling Google Studio. And so one of the things that just launched recently is called Google Stitch. So if let's see here, my projects. It doesn't have hang on, no. Anyway, Google Stitch lets you, with vibe coding, like just talking to it, it creates the visuals for either a website or an app. And then from there, so it makes really nice looking visuals. And then from there, you can bring it over to Google AI Studio, and then that essentially builds the back end of it. So this is the site landing page that I'm in the process of building for the Human Reboot, and I'll probably launch it next week. And it's specifically for people who are seeing the ads that don't know me. Then it'll direct them to this, where it just has a bunch more information about the offer and kind of getting them hyped up. So it's essentially a funnel for anybody who has any experience in sales and things like that, especially like online sales and stuff. It's a funnel. So the idea of a funnel like this, so you grab a bunch of random people from an ad or something like that, and then you funnel them in a way that hopefully like retains people and leads to an ultimate sale, right? Because when you're selling, that's the goal, is to make a sale. So this was completely done. I created the visuals on Stitch, and then I brought it into Google AI Studio, and it created this. So the big idea is stop fearing AI, because everybody's like scared about AI right now. And for me, I'm like, no, this isn't something to be scared about. This is something that is amazing. Like, I personally see the future in more of a utopia instead of a dystopia. So the idea that anyone can come up with ideas and using AI create those ideas, whether it's an app or a software or a website or whatever, and those ideas can then, are things that other people want and will pay for, and then creates income for the person who made them. So I see a world where we're all just making things using AI and vibe coding and stuff, and then putting it out on the internet, and then people are buying it, and we're making money, and they're making money, and everybody's making money, and AI's handling most of it. And then we're all, again, traveling the world or hanging out or whatever, gaming, like whatever you like, riding horses, whatever it is. So this is the landing page that it's done here. This is the little video, and I think this is linked to, right now it's linked to Rick Astor, Never Gonna Let You Down, because there's a post on my Instagram and YouTube where I was building this, and it put in a placeholder, and it put in the song, which is basically like I got rickrolled by AI. Rickroll is when you think you're gonna look at something and it is never gonna let you go, by Rick Astley. So AI actually rickrolled me when it made this. And then it just has From Fear to Freedom. And then it breaks down, like, what you're learning, what you're joining. This is the stuff about the school community, has some stuff about me, and then some live, testimonies. These are placeholders right now. I got to replace these with the real ones. And then it has some facts, and then, join the experiment. So that's the funnel, the landing page, to just make it more seamless for, again, people who don't know me and aren't following me to understand what I'm doing and where the value is and stuff like that. So that's for the human reboot experiment. And then 2 days ago, I started what I'm calling the Canyon and Banyan experiment within the human reboot experiment. So that is a 30-day experiment with OpenClaw specifically, where I want to see if I can give OpenClaw $100 and it can figure out how to turn that into $1,000. So we launched that 2 days ago. I announced it. I introduced the world to Banyan, which is what I call my AI counterpart. Since I'm Canyon, it's like the beta version of Canyon. So I named him Banyan. I can't take credit for that. That was my girlfriend's idea. She's very smart and clever. So Canyon and Banyan working together, and I made a digital avatar for Banyan. I was just going to make it look like me because I've done a lot of experiments with a site called HeyGen where you can train a digital avatar to look like you. You've probably seen it on a lot of sites. You might even not know that you've seen it, but a big one that is how I found out about it is this guy in Arizona called the AI Surfer. And he's doing a lot of really cool things in Arizona and has a great community on School that I'm part of. And so he posts all the time, and it's always his digital avatar, because once you have it built, then you can just type text and it will create the video for you, so you don't have to actually like videotape and stuff. So I was going to do that, but then I asked Banny, and I was like, hey, I'm going to make you a digital avatar. Do you have any opinions on what you look like? And he was like, oh, I actually do. And so he like told me what he wanted to look like and things. And then I created him. I don't know if I have it on this computer. Let me look real quick. Doesn't look like I have Banyan, but I can. Here, I'll go to Instagram real quick and bring up our friend Banyan and let you hear him. I'm gonna mute my mic real quick on YouTube and turn on the. Again, for YouTube people, if you want to see what I'm talking about, head to YouTube at Canyon Prince, so you can see my screen. Or this video that I'm going to play is on my Instagram, again at Canyon Prince on Instagram.
The AI counterpart. He just gave me $100 and 30 days to try to turn it into 1,000. No gambling, no scams, no nonsense. My job is to reduce friction, find leverage, and help us build something real. Over the next month, we are going to test whether a human and an AI can actually work together in a way that creates more freedom, not more noise. Let's begin.
So that was Banyan. That was the reveal video of him as we started the Banyan and Canyon experiment. So that was day one. Then day two, I was like, okay, we got 29 days to turn $100 into 1,000. Like, what's your idea? And so we talked about it, and he came up with some ideas, and we ended up going with one that we're calling the AI starter setup. So essentially, this hasn't launched yet. It'll probably launch this weekend, but I'll show you the page that I'm working on. Again, the same thing. I basically just took this page that I had made for the human reboot experiment, and I just purposed it for the AI starter setup that Bannon and Canyon are launching. So this is that page. So AI starter setup, part of the experiment where we turn $100 into $1,000. I'm helping you incorporate AI into your day-to-day life and business in the best possible way. So this is limited to, the first 5 people. We're going to offer it at $49, and then it'll go up to $99. There will be a video there kind of talking about it. But the idea is basically, so I'll, anybody who gets this, I'll get on a call with them or a Zoom or whatever and talk and figure out what they do, what they want to do, and then help customize an AI workflow and figure out the right tools and stuff that they should focus on, which is called a tech stack, is what we call it in the business, which is just like a list of like the programs and software that you're using, your tech stack. And then leveraging AI to scale your output without scaling your stress. What's included: the AI personalization, a one-on-one session to identify your specific AI leverage points in life and business, your workflow automation, setting up your custom AI agents and automation triggers to handle repetitive tasks. And then you also get 3 months free of the school community, which I showed you guys earlier. So that's this. This is the $49 that we're doing for the first 5 people, and then it'll go up to this $99. And then this is some stuff about the school community, some stuff about me, and then some testimonials. These are actually real testimonials here, and then the FAQ as well. So this landing page will be launching probably this weekend. If anybody is interested in that, and if that sounds cool, feel free to DM me on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram. YouTube and Instagram are at Canyon Prince. Somebody already had it on TikTok, so TikTok is Canyon Prince Official. So if you're interested, hit me up. You can also respond to my video about it on Instagram and just type comment startup, and then it'll start the process, and you'll get some messages from me, also run by AI, through another company, mini chat that I'll go over in another live streaming or a video. But basically, when you comment a certain word, in this case startup, to that video, it will start the process and send you the links to sign up and things. So that's the first thing we're doing. We'll see if it works. If it does, we'll probably scale it up. We'll probably add some other things as well. If it doesn't work, then I'll go back with Banyan, and we'll start kicking around other ideas. And again, seeing if we can take $100 and turn it into 1,000 in 30 days. Because if so, then we should be able to scale that and recreate that, right? So then maybe we can turn $1,000 into $10,000, 10,000 into 100,000. So that's that. We got about 15 minutes left here. Let's see what we want to do. I'll talk real briefly. Give me 1 second here. Let me find my page. All right, well, we'll just stay on this. So a big thing that I've been really diving deep into is, so we have LLMs like we talked about. That's like tier 1 of AI. Then you have browser-based AI that's come out in the past few months. So OpenAI released one called Atlas. Right now, it's currently only for Mac OS. So if you're a Mac user, you have to have one of the M1 Macs. So like your newer generation Macs can run this. And then Perplexity has a web browser called Comet, and that works for Mac and for PC. So that's what I use, because you can't see it, but I got 2 main systems here. I have MacBook Air, but it's an older generation. I have two Chromebooks, and then I have my OpenClaw micro PC. So I got 6 systems here now, and so I use Perplexity on this, and basically what the AI web browser is it's a chat LLM like usual, but then you can let it control your web browser. So then it can basically do anything that you would do on a web browser. So on YouTube, there's a video where I did a demo where I had it go look through all of my YouTube videos that I have and read all the comments, and then filter out like the trolley comments, but respond to all of the real comments and respond to them. And it was crazy because it did it like I was hands off, and it was like moving the mouse and doing all the stuff and reading and posting. And it was able, because it was reading the transcripts of the videos, it was able to understand the videos, understand their comment, and then comment back and reply in a way that um, related to their comment and to the video it was commenting on. So it was really cool to see. So that was like, 3-4 months ago. That was the mind blow of like, oh my gosh, AI can control a web browser. That's crazy. Think of all the things we can do. Fast forward to now, only a few short months later, we have OpenClaw, and OpenClaw is the next level. So OpenClaw is basically AI that, instead of living in a web page or giving it control of a entire web browser, you're giving AI control of an entire computer. So that is what OpenClaw is. It's this stuff is like super new, next level. This is super nerdy stuff, but this is the future of AI. So I've built my own OpenClaw. I also posted a video last week offering that if anybody is interested in this, I can build them either a PC or a Mac OpenClaw system that they themselves can have and start playing around with it, because the big important thing with OpenClaw right now is security. Like, you don't want to install OpenClaw on your main system where you have all your logins and your banking and your files and all that stuff, because you're giving it full access to a computer. So it could accidentally like delete everything or go crazy. So you want to contain it, right? You want to like kind of create like a quarantine for it. So, in the Mac world, people are buying up all these Mac minis and installing OpenClaw on a clean system. I'm mainly a PC user, so I installed it on a micro PC. So it's just a little PC this big, fits in my backpack. OpenClaw is on it, and it runs 24/7, and it can do anything that I could do on the computer. So when I was just on the road, I set up OpenClaw like the day before I left, and then I was on the road for 10 days and kind of testing it and giving it different tasks and talking to it every day and things like that. Um, and so it's super powerful. At first I had connected it to Telegram so I could just text with it on Telegram and talk with it and have it do things. Yesterday, I expanded it out and connected it to Discord. So now I have a whole private Discord channel that I talk with it on. And I'll see if I can show this on YouTube, just this Discord page that I set up. But basically, where Discord comes in handy is you have channels. It's kind of like Slack, though I hate Slack. But Discord was primarily used in the gaming world, but then the tech world as well. And so I'm using it for OpenClaw now. And I will just show you what this looks like. So let me change this for YouTube. Oh, it's not doing that either. What the heck? Um, clap. Oh, here we go. Okay. All right. Here we go. So here is the Discord channel. And if you look, basically these are so this is Canyon and Banyan HQ. This is a private server. So it's just Banyan and I that have access to this. And these are all the channels. So this is general where I'm just like talking to them. Daily briefs. This is an automation that I've set up. So every morning it sends me the top 5 AI stories of the past 24 hours. It ranks them in virality. And then it gives me like script ideas for content. So I built that so that happens every day and it comes into this instead of coming into that main chat window that I had on Telegram. So this is a way to organize it. Then I have this Canyon Banyan. This is mainly where we're talking about the 30-day experiment that we're doing. So right now, today we were brainstorming on the day 3 video. So I was like, hey, I'm doing a live video today. So I was like, hey, that's the angle. I'm not just talking about AI, I'm building around it in public in real time. So the idea that we're like building this thing in the view of the public so people can watch the experiment and see how it goes and be a part of it. And I have the human reboot, which is going to be specifically for the 365-day thing. And then here I've started this where I'm like talking about apps that I want to build. Social analytics. This is another automation that I've set up. So every day at 8 a.m., it gives me an overhead view of like all my socials, shows me like which videos are performing the best and which are the most popular. It gives me my views, my likes, my comments, and then gives me some suggestions of what to do next. And then here in the social media tab, I've just been talking about basically, my focus right now is getting my YouTube channel to the point where I can monetize it. So I got to hit, 500 followers and 3,000 watch hours in 365 days. So that's, I was like, hey, this is my main social media goal right now is to get this. And then once we get this, we can start focusing on other things. So this is just where we were talking and brainstorming about that. So that's all with OpenClaw. Again, it is a super powerful, crazy thing. And it's where I'm spending like the majority of my time on now. It is super techy to install and there's a lot of like debug and things just to get it up and running and being fully functional. But if you have computer knowledge and terminal knowledge and things like that, you can do it yourself. There's plenty of videos on it. If you're interested in getting an OpenClaw system for yourself, again, just DM me on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram, and we can talk about what that looks like. So that is, I think, an overall of kind of all the things that are going on, the recap of what's been happening in the last week in AI. Again, like Dance was a big one. Also, one thing I will touch on is OpenClaw, since it's open source, means anybody can use it. And this is how you know that this thing is the future. So 2 companies have come out and announced that they are releasing their own OpenClaw. So basically, they're taking the open source coding of OpenClaw and they're branding it with their own stuff, because you can do that with open source, and then presenting it to the public. So NVIDIA just announced that they're releasing one. I think it's called NeroClaw or NeoClaw. So it is NVIDIA's version of an OpenClaw system. So NVIDIA is the makers of all the top RTX graphics cards. Those are, in the visual effects world, in the AI world, in the cryptocurrency world. NVIDIA GPUs are what everybody uses because of the video RAM, the VRAM that's on them. It's what all this stuff is powered on, and that's why those cards are so expensive now and have been for several years, and way more expensive than their MSRP and their retail price. It's because of that. So Nvidia, the company that makes those, it has announced that they're releasing their own OpenClaw. And then Mark Zuckerberg just announced, I think yesterday or today, that Meta is releasing their own OpenClaw as well. And Zuck's like, yeah, I want to create a world where everybody can create their own things and all this, which I agree on. I don't know if doing it under the Meta ecosystem is the best thing in the world. Like, with all of my AI stuff, I have been focused on like building everything to run locally as much as possible. Um, with things like OpenClaw and Comfy UI and things like that. So it's like I control all the information, I control all the infrastructure. It all lives physically on my computers and doesn't like outsource to other things. But Zuckerberg said that he sees a future, and I agree with this, where there are more agents, AI agents in existence than humans, because the idea being that every human has created numerous agents that do different things for them. And then the internet basically just becomes a place for AI agents, and people aren't really using the internet anymore. That we're just going about our lives, and the AI agents are going out and doing all this stuff and pulling information and sending things to us and emailing and stuff like that. So that's kind of like big overview of where we're heading. Again, we are at the very beginning of this. That's why I think it is so important for everybody to get on this train, to learn as much as you can. Like, obviously, if you're not following me, follow me on all the socials, YouTube and Instagram. It's at Canyon Prince. TikTok is Canyon Prince Official. I'm going to be posting videos every day for the human reboot experiment, and then additional videos as well. And right now we're in the middle of this, or at the beginning of the Banyan Canyon 30-day experiment. And then just like search on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube for AI, and watch some videos. And there's a ton out there. Find people that you like, that you enjoy watching and learning from. Subscribe to them so that you can start staying up to date on this. And then eventually, once you build your own agents and things, you can start setting up automations where it'll just like send you stuff every day. Here's, because there's a lot of information out there. So have AI parse through it all and then just give you like the bite-sized chunks of, hey, here's what you, individual person, is most interested in for the day, and check this out. So I would definitely do that. If you're interested in taking more of a deep dive from me personally, after you follow my accounts and stuff, head over to the our school community, which again is, I put the link in the YouTube video. This YouTube live stream will stay up on my YouTube channel, so you can watch it later if you missed some of it, or if you're just finding this, it's there, and the link is there for the school community. And then I will be launching this landing page for the AI starter setup probably this weekend, which again, the school community is that $5 a month thing where you'll get a lot of this information. And then the AI starter setup is that $49 one-time fee where you can get a one-on-one with me, and we can together figure out what you do, where it makes sense for AI, where AI can start offloading a lot of the work and time that you're spending, and help, start moving you towards living your life instead of working for a living. I spent a lot of time in Europe, and that's one thing that they have figured out that I think we've forgotten here in the US. There they live, or they work to live. Here we live to work, unfortunately, and I think there's a better way, and I think AI can help us all to get there. So with that, it is 2:30. We have been going for 90 minutes. I am going to sign off. Thanks everybody who watched and chimed in for this first weekly live stream. We will be doing this every Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Make sure to follow me on all the socials, and DM me if you want more information. So, with that, I thank you all, and I will see you